So one thing that I see increasingly becoming a problem in a lot of people's homes is their Wi-Fi is being a little bit overwhelmed. With smart home products becoming a lot more affordable and a lot easier to set up, along with, basically everything in your house needing to connect to the Wi-Fi networks are being super cluttered, and you can really help reduce the amount of clutter by taking things off it. One of my biggest recommendations to a lot of people that complain about their Wi-Fi is to first take a look at what's on their Wi-Fi network and see if there's anything that they can turn into a wired connection. This is by far the quickest and one of the easiest ways to help improve your Wi-Fi, because if you reduce the amount of clutter and the amount of items and products connecting to your Wi-Fi, it'll help improve the speed for everything else. On top of that, those products that are now switched to a wired connection will benefit from a much improved stability. Although Wi-Fi speeds have increased significantly over the last couple of years, the stability is always going to be one of the weaker points of using a wireless system. So my biggest suggestion is always going to be try to move as many of the wireless products to wired. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to just run an Ethernet cable right from your router to any of your products. But that's not easy because most routers only have maybe 4 or 5 ports on them. That's where getting something like a switch comes in really handy. You can get switches from 4 ports all the way up to 42 ports. Typically, the 4 to 16 port options are usually the most affordable and have the best value. I have quite a few of these 8-port ones set up in my house right now. I also have a few of the 4-port ones set up in my house. Most of them are either TP-Link or Netgear, and I have them set up for multiple purposes. So if you take a look at this network map, it is a basic network map of the current house that I'm living in. And as you can see, I have 3 switches set up currently. So I have one that's actually right at my desk here, and that goes to both of my PCs, both my gaming PC and my streaming PC. It also goes to the server that I have that I run a couple of game servers off of. That same switch also connects to my Chromecast, my Xbox, and my AVR, all wired. My next switch is upstairs in the main living room area, and that is for our internet phone and the TV that we have up there. Currently we're on Rogers, and all of their stuff connects via internet. And my final switch is for all of my 3D printers. I send all of my prints to my printers wirelessly, and it helps me manage them, keep an eye on them, and all that kind of stuff. And that's 4 printers, 3 of them which are wired. So what I do is I have a small little 4-port switch there. They don't need a lot of bandwidth either, so this is a super easy. I have an unmanaged switch, and it's there. It splits the internet connection so that all of them can connect wirelessly. Really helps with stability and helps, keep my Wi-Fi unclogged. Now, I just mentioned an unmanaged switch. So there's 2 main types of switches. There's managed and unmanaged, and then on top of that, there's ones that provide PoE or power over Ethernet, and there's ones that don't. In terms of power over Ethernet, there are some products that don't need a separate power supply, and they actually get their power through the Ethernet cable that connects to them. Things like home security cameras, some wireless access points, products like that will usually have a PoE connection. PoE does significantly increase the cost of your switch, however, and most of the average people are just going to be looking between a managed and unmanaged. So an unmanaged switch is basically doing the properties of a switch, which is redirecting traffic to multiple devices in the most basic form. There is no quality of service management. There's no speed management, nothing like that. It literally just sits there. It's plug and play. You don't have to do anything. A managed switch, however, allows you to monitor a lot of the connections. It allows you to usually do some kind of quality of service where certain ports will have a priority connection than others. You could do a lot more. There's a lot more control, and there's usually a good software suite that allows you to connect to those switches, do all that monitoring and that control. As you may guess, a managed switch is usually a little bit more expensive than an unmanaged switch, and most people won't really need the managed aspect, but if you do want a little bit more control and to set up things like VLANs, a managed switch may be something you want to look into. Typically, when you're looking at the 16 port and smaller switches, the price between a managed and unmanaged usually isn't too bad. And typically you can get them very inexpensive when they're on sale. But if we go back to my network map, you can see that basically everything that I have wired are things that are non-portable. And that's the biggest takeaway from what I'm trying to get across to everybody today, is that if you have products that don't move around your house, that stay in one spot, if you can get them wired, you should, if you can. I know it's not always easy, running a cable through your house, if you don't have access to inside the walls, if you're living in a condo or something, or if you're living in a house that is much older and uses plaster walls, it might be a little bit more difficult. But if you can use things like raceways and cable management systems to help run, one singular cable from wherever your router is set up to a switch, then use that switch to help connect other devices. Or the perfect world is being able to run Ethernet ports to different rooms in your house. The added stability is just such a huge thing for me, especially on the streaming computer, where when I'm streaming, I want to have the most stable internet connection as possible. When I'm playing games, I'd like to have the most stable connection possible. And then, like I said before, the added benefit of reducing the clutter on the Wi-Fi really helps out with the rest of the Wi-Fi connections that need to use Wi-Fi. If you want to know some ways to help improve your Wi-Fi connection in other ways, some tips and tricks and some small things that you can do to help improve connectivity for your wireless devices, hit that subscribe button, because next week I will be going over a video specifically about that. And I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribed. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to them all as quickly as possible. Big thanks to my patron sponsors, Thought Slime, Step Back, and Rosa Son of Dojo, and thank you for watching the end of this video. If you want to watch any other videos of where I try to improve your life through technology, go ahead and check out any of these videos right up here. And thanks again for watching. As always, stay safe out there. I'll see you next Friday.